This is Crushing the Wine Myths. For 30 minutes. We will chat about what we've heard, what we've learned, and how we've grown when it comes to learning the truth behind some of the craziest wine myths. I'm Shae Frichette, co-owner of Frichette Winery and winemaker for Shae Wines. And joining me is Chrishon Lampley of LoveCorkScrew.
Hello there. So excited to be here. How are you?
I am fantastic, and it is so cool to get to do this with you, Chrishon. So let us know. LoveCorkScrew, tell us about it.
Oh gosh, LoveCorkScrew. I've been around 9 years now from Chicago, Illinois. LoveCorkScrew is an amazing wine brand I created. And gosh, I've been in this industry over 25 years. LoveCorkScrew 9, over 1 million bottles sold, selling nationwide, and just happy to be part of this 1% of this amazing industry as an African-American woman negociant, and to be here with you. Gosh, that is so awesome. So excited.
I have to say, I met you a few years ago at the celebration of Black women in wine. I've been in awe of you ever since. So it is so dope to get this chance to chat with you. We're going to be talking about the myths of wine. We're going to crush those today. Follow us both, by the way, both Chrishon and I on LinkedIn. Keep up with us on Instagram. This is just dope. We're just going to get right into it. And let's start with packaging. Misconceptions around packaging, specifically the capsule, this tin foil. So Chrishon, tell me, what are your thoughts around this? What have you heard about the tin foil? Why is it there?
So there's so many thoughts, right? We know that it sets tradition. We know it's the old world, old school way of packaging wine. However, there are other parts that aren't quite good anymore, right? And that's our environment. I think the last time I checked, the statistic is over like 465 million feet of foil that we throw out every year as Americans. And even though we recycle, what about 70% of Americans recycle, it's still a lot of foil. Still a lot of foil. So it is bad for the environment, and for an industry that we utilize about 1%, and that's pretty bad for an entire industry. It's not a good look anymore. So I understand switching over. Now I'm a hypocrite. Definitely, I have foil on LoveCorkScrew, but I am not ignorant to it, and I understand it. And I think we need to start moving away from it. We do.
Well, it's served its purpose. Originally, it was used to keep insects from damaging the cork while wine was stored, but we don't have to worry about those sort of things anymore. And plus, I don't know how many times I've cut my dang finger on opening this thing. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yes.
For Frichette, we actually will go without corks not without corks,
right?
without the capsule for our next vintage. So I'm excited to hear what our guests will think about that, because it is so traditional, and sometimes folks feel like the quality of the wine, you get a higher quality wine with that capsule. So that'll just be something that we'll that we'll get some feedback on. But we're here to say that the quality has nothing to do with the foil.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, speaking of the closure of wine, let's talk about screw caps, because that's another thing. When folks think of screw caps, they think that it means that it's not a quality wine. So what are your thoughts on that?
Not true anymore. Yes, I would say in the 80s when you saw the screw cap, probably, but things have changed in production so well. And actually, there are so many ways of making sure that the sealing of the screw cap is to perfection, and controlling of it. Controlling the amount of air that gets through these caps is actually crucial to aging some wines. So I will say the screw cap is not bad. However, hypocrite again, LoveCorkScrew. I'm not going to be Love Screw Cap. So that being said, I actually particularly love the sexiness of the corkscrew. Yes, it's real, right? Cork is a natural product. Now, some are using the plastic corks, which I don't agree with, bad for the environment. But I do love the popping. I love the celebration of the corkscrew. Convenience, screw cap is better for convenience, easier to utilize, but I like using my wine key. So it can go both ways.
I know I do love the ritual of using the wine key and removing, and also kind of that just that ceremonial sort of experience of opening the bottle of wine, almost that kind of wait for it. I do love,
Yeah.
I love that part of it, and you just don't quite get it from a screw cap. But I will say that with the availability of products, wineries are looking at alternative packaging. So that's one of those things that I think
Yes.
with wineries will be, I just think it was the way that we package wines will totally change in the next few years, and we're already seeing some of that. Well, we're talking about crushing wine myths. We're addressing some of the misconceptions when it comes to wine. So I'm Shae Frichette, and my wine sister Chrishon Lampley of LoveCorkScrew is here. Let's talk about wine quality a little bit more specifically around faults. And so we're going to go to corked wine because that's the thing of folks saying, maybe this wine is corked, maybe it's not. So corked wine, first off, how do you know really when a wine's corked?
Boy, do you know. Now, you're not going to know in production. You're not going to know until actually you open that bottle. So I'll tell you the bad scenario. The bad scenario would be you buying a $100 bottle of wine, waiting for that special occasion to open it. You open it up and it's cork tainted. What does that mean? That's actually a compound that's found on the actual material, cork, on the cork. So it's TCA. Don't ask me to pronounce the word. I'm terrible at it. It's like trichloronisol. I'm terrible at pronouncing it, but and I'm just being real with you guys, but it's TCA.
TCA. Let's just go with TCA.
TCA. And that's found on the cork. So how will you know? Boy, oh boy, will you know. It's not necessarily a smell that you just may not like. It's not a smell that just doesn't agree with you. No, no, no. It's like the worst wet cardboard smell you've ever smelled in your life. It is a serious, pungent aroma that's going to occur and come out of the bottle. When you pop it, oh boy, will you smell it. So I think we need to be very cognizant of not thinking that something that you just don't particularly like, oh, well, then it must be corked. No, more than likely not. So I know it looks cool sometimes if you're in a restaurant and you're swirling and you're like, I think this was corked. Can you get me a fresh bottle? More than likely the next bottle is going to actually smell the exact same for that varietal. You just may not like it. That's all.
There's so many aromatics that come with wine. It really is important to understand like what that corked smell is like, so that if you're smelling something that you really don't care for me, I can appreciate some of the earthy notes of wine, but there's some of the aromatics that aren't necessarily my favorites. I understand why they're there in the wine, that it's it comes from the environment that the wine was in, or how the wine was aged, or whatever. But you're right about that. You just don't want to go like, oh my God, it's a corked wine. I don't like it. So when you smell it, you'll get it.
Oh boy, you'll know. There won't even be a question. You'll know because it's so offensive. It's an extremely offensive scent.
Say, "Ooh, this is a corked wine."
Yes, and they'll be like, you know what? You're right. It really is. Let's get you a fresh bottle. Right. You'll know. You'll know. There's no question.
What I do enjoy about restaurants that have somms too, because I think that with somms, they're there to help educate you and to help guide you towards selecting a wine. And if you're not sure, it's worth just having that dialogue with that somm so they can provide some education about what those aromatics are. So that's a cool thing about having somms in restaurants. So we talked so far tinfoil and capsule. We talked about screw caps. We're into talking about corked wine. Let's talk about decanters, because there's always this question out there. Decant or not to decant, when you decant, why you decant. And I know that you have some pretty darn sexy decanters that we were talking about.
Oh boy, do I. They are sexy. I tend to get them a lot for gifts because people never know what to buy me for a gift, because they for some reason think I'll be a wine snob. So they get very nervous, but I'll get like some of the greatest decanters in the world. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Yeah. So decanting wine is not always necessary. Wines that I would suggest that you enjoy at home that you don't decant, that it's kind of pointless, definitely sparkling wine. Do not decant sparkling wine. There's absolutely no point in that. And definitely the lighter white wines. There's absolutely no point in that, actually. You can actually decay the wine. It actually can make it worse. So you really want to focus more on the red wines. And I'll admit, as much as I know about wine, I don't decant all my red wines, even the deep ones that I get for gifts from South Africa and from California. I don't necessarily decant them. Now, if I'm entertaining, absolutely. We know it separates the sediment and there's a reason. But when you decant, actually know what you're doing. You can't just take a bottle and just pour it, because the whole point is for it to separate the sediment. So you actually have to very lightly pour it with the bottom pointed down and actually just kind of gently pour. And if you see sediment actually getting towards the neck, stop pouring. Let it settle, because that is the whole point. And then, of course, it definitely opens up the wine. So I think it's great to do if you have a deeper, serious wine, you want to impress a little bit, do it about an hour prior to serving it. And yeah, I think it could be great, but it's more sexy than anything to me.
Oh, it is. And then wine has to have the, the thing about decanting is that you are just kind of getting some air into that wine. You're opening that wine up. And a lot of folks will witness that even without decanting. So if you're a slow sipper like me and you have a big, beautiful glass of wine and you're slowly sipping on it, if you're paying attention to that wine, it's changing over time and that wine's opening up. And so although it's not technically pouring it into a beautiful decanter, in essence, you're doing the same thing that a decanter is doing. You're just giving that wine some air and allowing it to breathe a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But definitely for the thing that I would encourage folks to do is if you're buying directly from a winery, if you're buying from LoveCorkScrew or Frichette Winery, then you can always ask those wineries and those winemakers, it's like, is this a wine that, how would you suggest I enjoy this? Is this a wine that you would have me open 45 minutes to an hour before I'm enjoying it? Would you have me decant this wine? So I think that, when you have a relationship with the winery or the producer or the Negociant, then it's easy to just get to their website and send them a question. But to your point, Chrishon, if you have a dope decanter,
show it off. Show it off. Oh my God. I have ones that totally look like chemistry projects. I have ones that look like big fat donuts and sexy. Like there's so many. So they're so much fun, and have fun with it. Don't overthink it.
Well, see, now the other part of Chrishon, we both know too, is cleaning those things can be a beast.
Man. So yes, just know, I think sometimes a little baking soda or whatever, and shake it in there, but it's very difficult with vinegar sometimes, but it's very difficult to clean those. So just know they can be a headache too.
Rice, putting like rice in a little bit of water and just kind of,
you're right,
doing it that way. Yeah. But they are sexy.
You're right.
I'll get out. One that I hear a lot is like when you swirl the wine.
The swirl.
Lovely wine. You get these tears or these legs that ooze down the inside of the glass. And folks go, oh my gosh, I love those legs. I'm used to just like, oh, thank you, because I've been working out. Oh, you're not talking about me. Oh, okay, got it. We're talking about what's happening in the glass. Now, the legs, the tears, does that have anything to do with the quality of the wine?
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing?
It is nothing. God. I swear to you, nothing. I swear to you, nothing. It is all about the alcohol content and or the sugar level. Period. That is what it's about. It's about how much alcohol or how much sugar is in there to leave them stand. It's really just the fluid sticking at the wall as it separates and evaporates from the alcohol evaporates from it. That's literally what it is. So again, does it look good? Absolutely. It's fun. It's fun to watch. Of course it is. Of course it is. However, if you don't have legs, does not mean you're not quality. I mean, I have great legs too, but it doesn't mean I would be not a quality woman. So it's really not going to make a difference. I swear to you guys. Again, enjoy it, drink it, don't overthink it. And we tend to overanalyze some terms that we learn, know, and that just come easily for us to remember. Right? You may not remember TCA and why the taint, but you're going to remember, oh yeah, the wine is corked. You may not remember that, okay, wait, this is really caused by alcohol or sugar levels, but it might be like, oh, I love looking at the legs and that means something important to me. Not necessarily. Again, just enjoy it, drink it, don't overthink it.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things too, is when you're talking about it is fun to say. That's one of the ones that I hear more than anything is when folks reference the legs. And what It's cool if you know what it's for, though. If you kind of know what you're looking for. On Red Mountain, we get really, really warm here, so we get some beautiful high sugar in wine. And as everyone knows, that wine is converted. You throw the yeast in, that yeast eats that sugar and converts it into alcohol. And so you do see some of these fast-moving, kind of slower legs on some of the wines that you get from our warm wine region. So when folks go, "Ooh, the legs," I'm just like, "Ooh, do you know what that means?"
Right. It's sexy and it's great, especially in those new big, what do you call them? Like more of those balloon glasses that they have now.
Yes.
Looks great. Looks great.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. And if you're gonna do the legs, so if you're gonna talk about the legs, you gotta know how to swirl.
You got to know how to swirl.
Practice swirling, which is so easy to do, and it's fun to do.
Yes. Both. You got to do both.
Okay, so we're talking about misconceptions of wine, but there's no mistaking you're drinking a white wine, Chrishon. So let's instead of talking about misconceptions, let's talk about what's in your glass. What are you drinking?
Gosh. What is in my glass is a little surprise. I am enjoying my new Sauvignon Blanc. So this Sauvignon Blanc I actually sourced from Chile. Mind you, I have the sample here, but the rest of my wine is sitting like in the middle of the water right now. We all know the transportation issues, huge transport issues right now. I was supposed to get my Sauvignon Blanc. It was supposed to arrive, about a month ago. Now, probably not till end of March. So it is absolutely scrumptious. I sourced it from Central Valley. It is unbelievable, light, crisp, fun, that perfect Chilean Sauvignon Blanc that is just so easy, drinkable, aromatic, has great, great fruit to it. And I'm having a ball with it. So I am the first and only to be drinking it now until it gets across in that boat. It's called Be the Light. Be the light.
You're teasing us on it. So the light. Is that what it is?
Be the light.
So
be
what,
the light.
What's behind that name? Like what does that mean?
It is in honor of Amanda Gorman, a wonderful poet that was did that amazing poem during the inauguration. And I wanted to speak to just amazing youth. Amazing young women coming up that are doing so many powerful and amazing things. And Be the Light was just perfect for this varietal, not only for that, but I'm actually giving portions of the proceeds back to UNCF. So again, to support colleges, and I really, it speaks to the brand, and it's a great name. And I think it's, again, great for a light, easy Sauvignon Blanc for the summertime.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. So you've teased us with it. Do you know about when? I know sometimes like when it comes to logistics and transport of wine product, like that part can be scary, but do you kind of have an indication of when this might be available?
Fingers crossed. The last time myself and the transportation company had a conversation, we're thinking end of March, but when it does arrive, it's definitely going to be in stores by April. It's going to be exclusive to Meyer, and very excited. So you all will be able to purchase it at Meyer and possibly some on LoveCorkScrew.com. So very excited. This is a very special project, and I know you guys will enjoy it.
And Meyer is where those stores are located. Is that just Chicago? Is that East Coast?
No, mostly all the Midwest, but we're talking from Michigan to Indiana, of course, in Chicago as well, but Michigan being the largest set of Meyers there, Wisconsin, Ohio, a little bit everywhere in the mostly Midwest. But again, I'll definitely make some available exclusively on LoveCorkScrew.com as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you know what? I love when folks tease you with something, especially when they have it in hand and they can describe how amazing it is. Just like, well, so I would say follow LoveCorkScrew so that you are the first to know when it's available, because it sounds like this is an amazing Sauvignon Blanc, and it just sounds like it's so fun. And then with the summer coming into, I mean, I'm not a like I have to drink, chilled wine, white wine, rosé. During the warm months, I'm more of a year-round kind of white wine and rosé drinker. But I do love, like as you described that, the light and crispness of it. I did think about like the sunshine. So that sounds like a lot of fun. And lucky for me, you can make wine shipping.
Be the light. I do. Be the light. You know I'm gonna ship you some. You'll have it. You'll have some.
Bring it on over to Washington State over here.
I got you.
Can we find our wines in find your wines in Washington State?
Washington State, not yet. Trust me, I'm working. Obviously, if anybody is out there, I know sometimes my distributors watch some of the social that I do. By all means, I'm definitely looking to get in Washington. We're in 15 states nationwide now and growing, but I do ship around the entire country. So I ship there, but unfortunately not yet, but hopefully in distribution soon.
Awesome. Well, we got some phenomenal chefs and restaurants and great
Yes,
wine
you do.
here. So I'm sure your wine would be just scrumptious and more than welcome in our state here.
Absolutely.
Well,
I
I am
can't wait.
drinking a red wine. So I have our Punctual. Punctual because timing
Mm,
is everything. So for Greg and I, we quit our jobs in corporate America. We decided to get into wine. So we learned how to make wine. We really wanted to be on Red Mountain and there was nothing for sale. So we just went knocking on doors begging people to sell to us. And after 4 no's, the folks who own the property we currently have finally said yes. So we decided that the flagship blend we make will be called Punctual because timing is everything. We quit our jobs at the right time.
love
We
it.
knocked on the right door at the right time. So punctual timing is everything. And I love, love, love the makeup of this wine. It's a lot of Cabernet Franc and a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cab Franc is one of my favorite varieties to work with. It's just very youthful and very blueberry and very plum flavored. It's an exciting variety. Cabernet Sauvignon is the most widely grown variety in the state of Washington and here on Red Mountain. So we wanted to add a little bit of that to the Cabernet Franc to lengthen the finish of this wine. So it's a medium plus body wine with a lots of flavor. We ferment it all the way dry. And it's amazing. It's amazing on its own. I call it my, I do call it like my hang out with your best friend in your PJs and watch your favorite shows on Netflix with leftover pizza kind of wine.
I need some. I love a good Cab Franc and I love Cabernet Sauvignon. So I will be
Oh my
getting
God.
some ASAP. That is I love it. Love it.
It's so much
You're
fun.
making my mouth water. Yeah, it sounds great.
I know the thing about wine, it's so much fun. I know that it can be very intimidating, especially
Very.
when you look at just like the vastness of wine, that it's from all these different places and to learn the rules of all the places, to even understand like what you're having can be daunting. But I think the best thing it really is having an open mind when it comes to wine. And if there's something you don't understand, Google is your friend.
It is.
Throw it
Not
in
only is
there.
Google, it's your friend. My gosh, there's so many opportunities now. And I mentor a lot of young budding entrepreneurs and people trying to get in the wine industry. And I tell them all the time, you have so many resources now with free courses and grants to do the
Yeah.
WSET courses. There's so many ways you can learn. And at the flip side, wine is not as sexy as people think. It's sexy to drink, but really getting into the industry is quite complicated. So
Mhm.
I want people to learn the intricacies and understand what world we are in and what world we're in that does not look like us, and
Oh,
really
yeah.
embrace it and definitely have a good time with it. But no, it's more to the story. It's more
There is
to it.
a lot more to the story. A lot more to the story. Well, hey, we got a couple more myths and misconceptions we'll talk about. We just have a few more minutes before I've been having so much fun with you, Chrishon. This is going by so fast.
I love
But
it. Absolutely love it.
two things we'll talk about: temp control and then aging wines. So when it comes to temperature control, let's just have some dialogue around that. What are your thoughts on misconceptions around temperature control?
Don't overthink it. Number one, we keep our homes so incredibly warm compared to how it was back in the day, right? Years ago. So when it comes to keeping your wines, keep it very simple and don't overthink it. Now, if we have the wine coolers and if we have the serious cellars, that's one thing. But if it's simple, if we just have a refrigerator, keep it in the refrigerator, 45 to 65. Yes, keep it in there. Obviously, if you want to set your wine cooler, set it to the proper temperature. All the wine coolers will tell you exactly what to set them to. But 45 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit is the norm. We tend to keep our wines, and I've been to people's homes where they keep them in the basement and they just put them in the corner in the basement. Wrong. Do not do that. You see that? Do not do that. Please. There could be that one little window that's shining that sun straight directly on those cases. You could have floods in your basement. It gets too moist, it gets too dry. What happens to that cork? What happens to that cork? It either detracts, air can get into that. And what does it do? It messes up your wine. So please be cognizant of how you keep your wine and what temperature you keep it in. Don't put it in direct sunlight. Don't put it at the top of your refrigerator. Make sure, if anything, it's lower and it's someplace nice and cool, because you will destroy your wine. And if you keep it at the wrong temperature, wine cooks. Yes, wine cooks. And it will go bad. It will turn colors. So be careful with that. And wine freezes. You can bust your bottles in the freezer if you think you're trying to cool your wine very quickly. Don't do that. Just put it in the sink, put some ice in there with some water, let it sit there for about 15 minutes, and you have a nice chilled bottle. Keep it simple. Stop overthinking.
I think that's the key when it comes to this, is the keep it simple. And, just kind of think about like what wines like and what they don't. They don't like heat. They don't like it too cold. They don't like vibration. They don't like places that are going to be too dry, or places that, where you could have a flood. So, there's some folks that they have like their wine cooler or like their wine holder on the top of their refrigerator that vibrates. But you know what? The thing that I like to do is just say, like, find a place in your home that might have a good stable temperature around the safe zone of storing your wine. If the best place is under your bed, put a drawer in there with casters on it and store your wines there. If there is a hall closet or someplace in your home where the temperature is not greatly fluctuating, or it's not around a lot of vibration, it's not in direct sunlight, then store your wines there. Now, when it comes to storing wine, aging of wines. So a lot of folks feel like, well, when you age your wines, they are like, all wines get better when you age, or they are getting something from the glass. They're getting something from the glass. Right.
Wrong. Number one, if you have a screw cap, that wine is not aging well. Like, stop it right now. Also, I always tell people there's about 1% of wines that actually age, and age well, in a state-of-the-art cellar. So if the winemaker told you, give it a year and then open it your next birthday or whenever you buy it, just give it some time. If they tell you that, that's one thing. If they don't tell you that, more than likely it will not age well. Do not keep your wine over 2 years. I've disappointed so many people where they're like, we actually bought this amazing bottle from South Africa and I've been saving it for a special occasion. And I'll say, ooh, how long have you been saving it? Oh, like 5-6 years, or I went to South Africa 10 years ago. Oh boy. More than likely that wine is destroyed and will taste like vinegar. The wine will, the color has turned. I have gone down to people's basements like, Chrishon, you came over, so we want to enjoy the best wine. And I walked down to the basement. There's dust on this wine bottle and they think it's going to be great. And I'm like, oh God, it was white wine. It's now brown. Like, it's not. So no, 2 years max, in my opinion, 2 years max. Enjoy that wine. Every day you live is a special occasion.
Well, and a small number of wines benefit from aging. I think that's the important thing. They have to have certain things that help them age and help them keep like high levels of tannin or acidity to preserve that wine. But like you said, most wines are meant to be enjoyed within a couple years of them being bottled. I go back to the other thing I would say too is what some wineries do is they do release those older wines. They will age those wines for you in their own cellar.
Correct.
And bring back out those library wines or those older wines. But when in doubt, either hop onto the winery's website or contact them and just ask how long would they recommend you age those wines, and just make sure that you have an appropriate place to store those wines. Oh my gosh, Chrishon, it's been so amazing getting to chat with you. Oh my gosh.
I've loved it. It's so much fun. And for our first meeting to be in such a beautiful setting with amazing African-American women in this wine industry, and just to see the progression that you have made, that I've seen other women in this industry make, has been amazing. And I always say I'm here to break every glass ceiling till there's no more to be broken. And kudos to you and your husband and everything you are doing, and keep it up. And this is exciting growth time for us.
Oh, absolutely. And I believe there's space. There is space. And like I always say, when folks know the story of me starting up the Shae label, I saw my first Black female winemaker, my first Black female women in wine at the celebration of Black women in wine. And I was so inspired that I came back to Washington State and I started the label Shae Wines because I wanted something that was more of an expression of me, and I wanted to inspire other women. So just as you said, you are breaking the glass ceilings and you're opening doors and being a great representative of a Black woman in wine. And so it's just, absolutely delightful to get this opportunity with you. So thanks
My
again
pleasure.
for joining. I hope we get to do this again. Can you
Yeah.
tell everyone what's the best way to keep up with you?
So simple. Love Corkscrew. Love Corkscrew everything. From IG to Facebook, just follow Love Corkscrew. No commas, no dots in between. And of course, on LinkedIn, I see you guys here. Follow the company Love Corkscrew. And my name, Chrishon Lampley. Very simple.
Fantastic. And I'm Shae Frichette. If you're not already following Frichette on Instagram, please do, which is at Frichette Winery. And that's at Frichette Winery on all of our platforms. So thank you so much for joining us. Happy whining. Chrishon, we need to do a cheers. Let's get that glass up into the camera. Cheers.
Cheers. Chin chin.
Bye, everybody.